first of all, definitely be yourself. If you're generally quiet, maybe you have to shed that a little bit, and it takes some effort, because you want to leave a mark on somebody, an indelible mark. That I remember this person for this reason, not because they were wearing something outrageous, or maybe you wear a really colorful tie, but you need to stand out in a crowd. And I'm sorry to say, a recruiting fair is a huge crowd.
Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. I have a good buddy of mine, or acquaintance, I guess, that I've met through my LinkedIn. Keith Prata is here today to talk anything and everything. He's an MEP engineer, in the field anyway, for a long time. So in my industry, and I've had a couple talks with him. They went really well, and I think that we're going to bring some good value for you guys today. So welcome to the show, Keith Prata.
Jake, Steve, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it. This is my first podcast, so I'm looking forward to it.
Right on. We don't have anybody calling in today, so we won't have any live interaction, but
it's all right.
Hey, so what I'd like to start off with is your story. You know, if you can reach back that far, get into how you got into engineering. Like, what were you thinking as a kid, growing up? What sparked it? Or was it a spark?
What sparked it? I mean, I would say early on, from 5, 6, 7 years old, and I think this is true for an awful lot of engineers. You're a Lego maniac or Lincoln Logs, or some way, somehow you're predisposed to wanting to put things together or learn how things work, and that's how it started for me. I mean, no conscious effort behind, hey, I want to be an engineer at age 5. It's just, I love these interlinking blocks. I love putting them together. More importantly, I love tearing them apart and seeing what else I can make with them. And then did I memorize how to put them back together the same way? So that was really it. I think at my peak, my heyday when I was 12, I think I had having the twin mattress on my bed, the size of that underneath where I could slide. That's how many I had, and I still maintain them. And my kids are the same way. They actually have far more Legos than I ever had in my life, to the tune of like a metric ton of them.
Life goals.
Life goal, exactly. One, and the oldest loves putting them together and keeping them, maybe disassembling here and there, but playing with them, and the youngest just tears them apart. He puts them together, and then he just tears them apart, and now there's a gigantic plastic bin with just about every single Lego he has, other than his Star Wars Legos, because he loves those. But, I mean, other than that, Jake and Steve, my dad was in engineering. And it's just, you hear the talk around the kitchen table. I don't think it was ever his intention to get me interested in following it, because he was an electrical engineer, or I think still is an electrical engineer in many ways. I'm a mechanical engineer. But I remember when I told him, when he finally put the question to me when I was junior in college, I mean, because you're junior in high school, you're being asked by parents, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Which I think is a crappy question to ask a 15, 16-year-old. I really do. I mean, it's lousy. It really is. Could you please
whatever I choose, I have to do for the rest of my life.
Exactly. Could you please make a life decision right now? Well, I don't know what I want for dinner right now.
Just want to go out with my friends on Friday.
Video games.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember telling my father, well, I think he jokes. He said, your mother wanted you to be a brain surgeon. And I remember thinking, when he said that, I was like, I don't want to be a doctor of any kind. I have no desire, no interest. And then he said the next year, no, your mother thinks you're going to be a Supreme Court justice. I'm like, I do not want to be a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. I think it goes back to the lawyer. Okay. Yeah, it goes back to the Robin Williams line of you have two dreams, and your kid is on the stage saying, "I'd like to thank the Nobel Academy," and the other dream where your kid's saying, "Do you want fries with this?" Right. So I think that's where it came from. But I remember I said to him in the kitchen where I grew up, I said, Dad, I think I want to be an engineer, and I'll never forget it. he's accomplished. He had a stamp in 23 states. He was on the move, meaning going high in his company. And he got down on bended knee in the kitchen and begged me not to do it. Not to do it. He said, please do not make the same mistake I made. And I'm like, at the time, you don't understand. Not where it's where the comment is coming from. Not that your parents have any greater wisdom than you do. They've just been around the block and they've been in the uncomfortable situations that they wish you don't have to be in. Which, as a parent now, I get it, but without discomfort, you can never grow. So it's that's the sign of the parent trying to protect the child. But at some point, you just have to let the child get through it. So
did it make you say I'm in?
No.
Or were you like, oh?
There was no reverse. There was no reverse psychology. I knew I liked putting things together, so I knew that's what I wanted to do. Now, mechanical engineering is the broadest of all engineering. It could be working for Tesla, putting a car together. It could be NASA putting the space shuttle together. It could be any other type of materials or gear engineer. It's incredibly wide and broad. It did not mean MEP engineer. But you get towards the end of college, and you're looking for that first job, and that's where you have a parent who's in the industry, and they say, by the way, I could get you an interview quickly, and you say okay, and you have an interview. I think it was close to Christmas time. I think of my graduating year, so that was of '94, Christmas of '94, and by February, my first boss, who was a friend of my father's, called me in my dorm room while I was studying for a strength and materials final, or I should say test. And he said, we want to offer you a position X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, Dan, I accept. That was well before email, sending you something. He had to send me the letter, with it. And I signed on, and I remember I closed the book. I'm like, I don't need this right now. Which I still did. Because the last sentence was, assuming successful completion of your courses. But then that kind of sets the path for you. And I was hooked at that point. I was hooked probably for the next 5 or 6 years. I know I made the right decision, and then every year after that, you always say, "Damn it, what if I had just done something else?" But after 28, 29 years now in the industry, you understand the uncomfortable times that you're experiencing, that Dad, was probably experiencing at that time, which is where the influence came from. Don't make the same mistake I made. So that's my story. Other than that, born and bred in the Boston area. I went to college outside of the Boston area, very, very upstate New York. A lot of people say, oh, Albany. It's like, no, that's middle state New York. I'm talking about Canadian border. Very cold, where -20 was not an uncommon experience without wind chill.
So it's warm back home now.
Yeah. but I mean, after that, I came to work in the Boston area. I've worked in and around the Boston area, but I have executed projects not only domestic but also foreign, in the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait City, Kuwait, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and Singapore, Marina Bay Sands Casino in Singapore. So those were some impressive projects. Not necessarily because of the scale and scope, but because you got to experience somebody else's culture. Even though I didn't have to fly to those places and actually visit, which I'm a little disappointed I didn't have the opportunity to. But you get to understand why we think we have it so good in this country, and the struggles that just a normal working person has elsewhere. We do have a sense of entitlement here, and I have told many an intern in co-op that, and they say, "What do you mean?" And I have to articulate what I mean by that, and they're like, "Wow, I had no idea people lived like this." They don't use those words, but it's the look in their eyes, like, "Are you serious?
Yep.
Are you serious?" So,
wow. And so, how does that? So, I want to hit on the comments you make with the co-op about life in general. How does that? Do you lean on that a lot to try and teach some soft skills and try and build perspective with them, or do you not go any deeper than that with them?
I don't know if it's if you necessarily have to go to the depth of the soft skills with the co-op. With the co-op, particularly if it's their first one, either for themselves or just in your industry, the first thing you want to do is you want to make them feel welcomed. You want to give them at least a landscape where they can ask questions, they can make mistakes. You want to get them interested in that. So the soft skills, I think that really comes later once they determine what they want to do. Because the one thing I do tell co-ops when I'm going out and I'm recruiting, it's that the first co-op that you do with us, whether it's your first or just your first in this industry, the first co-op's about you, because you need to learn if you like this or not. Yep. And even if you end the co-op with good service and you realize I don't want to do that, it's okay. It's the first thing. I draw it back to the 15-year-old, 16-year-old conversation of what do you want to do for the rest of your life? How do you know what you just did for a co-op is what you want to do? You just don't know.
Sampling.
Exactly.
It's part of the puzzle.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell the people who gather in front of me, I tell them the first co-op's about you. It's a little bit about us in the company because you still have to do usable work.
Sure.
And you need to be engaged in the process and enthusiastic. But if you come out and you realize this ain't for me, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Conversely, if you come out of this and say, I really enjoy doing that, fantastic. But if you also come out and say, I really enjoyed those people, now we talk about a second co-op, or as I call it, a returning tour of duty.
Yeah.
And when I look at them and I say, you have to understand that second co-op is essentially a 3-month interview for a full-time job. And they go, whoa, this is real.
Yep.
Wow, this is really?
I have my first co-op that I was directly involved in hiring starting in the summer. And that's one of the main things that I was completely headstrong about doing was welcoming them to the industry, showing them what it's about, making them comfortable. And then you made a comment about and safe. And this is the time to learn, baby. You come in here and ask questions and let us show you the ropes and let's, be safe.
I'll send you
in a good environment.
I'll send you privately the co-op program that I invented at my last company because we desperately realized that as a small firm, I think at that time it was like between 150 and 180. We were still in the throes of COVID, so there was a little bit of up and down. But I think we stayed relatively level. My boss at the time said, what do you want to do? And I said, Ed, we need a co-op program. And he said, tell me how many people you want and go do it. He got out of my hair entirely out of my hair. I mean, I was very fortunate in that when I rolled in as the chief mechanical engineer of that office, not of the enterprise, but of the Boston office, I was told, hey, you have 3 co-ops coming in this summer. So they really weren't my folks, but they came to the company. And I will admit, the first co-op, I failed them because I didn't know how to utilize and engage them. So you do have to fall down a couple of times before you suddenly have your eyes are open and you realize this is what we have to do. But there were 3 of them that summer. COVID had hit, so they weren't in the office quite as much, and you really need to be shoulder to shoulder with people to effectively do that. I think over the next year-ish, we had a co-op come in here and there. Some were referred to us by others. And Jake, one of the most successful, was actually referred to me by a common friend of ours. I don't want to mention his name, but it's BM at your last place.
Gotcha.
And I remember thinking to myself, I got to do a favor for somebody. This is not going to end well. The person who came in actually, through his demeanor, through his enthusiasm, through his effort, I said, that is the type of person I need to attract. That's the type of person I need to find. And I remember I was watching TV one night, just kind of spacing off, and I thought to myself, okay, this is how you do it. I put a plan together in my mind of this is what we have to do. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder why we don't tell co-ops on their first day what we expect of them. And I just said, oh my God, on the first day, tell them what you expect of them.
It's up to, usually it's up to the individual.
Why do we have to, hope that we get a good co-op. We tell them, this is what I define as a successful co-op. So there are 5 points I go over. One of them is be on time. 2, be engaged. 3, be enthusiastic. And there are 2 others. I think one of them was in there was you get paid for every hour you work. So do not be bashful on working more than 40. You know, the more you put in, the more you get out. And quite frankly, I forget the 5th one, but it all had to do with, circling around to the enthusiasm kind of deal. I think it was, even if you're not part of a project and you hear a conversation that you want to be involved in, insert yourself into that conversation. Because that's where you'll start to pull more interest rather than just the thing you're doing that day. So I was very fortunate in that the first co-op class that I actually recruited, we had a great group of people. We had 3 mechanicals and 2 electricals. I call them the first co-op class because I found all of them at one college, and I remember I was the only one to do the co-op recruitment. I met 32 people, and it's very difficult to keep 32 people in order, even though you meet like 40. Some say, hey, computer programming is like, we really don't do computer programming, but you forget who they are. So you have to write down some quick notes on the resumes to remember. But then you have to shortlist I said, who do I shortlist to? Somebody else wants me to go to another college. Somebody else wants me to go to another college and recruit. I'm like, I have 5 people and I just met 32. Do I really want to add more people to this? So I made sure I concentrated on one college, which was Wentworth Institute of Technology. I really like the way they actually do their career fair. I just really enjoy it. So we I shortlisted to 10, interviewed all 10 on a Teams call separately, and then I made my decision from there. And sometimes the decisions are just gut feels. Sometimes they're, okay, I've met this person for the second time, they're definitely not a good fit. But more often than not, you have 5 positions, you have 8 people you really want to hire, and you can't do it. The most important thing I found was, other than that, is you need to get your offer letters out as quickly as possible, because you will find the time where your top 1 and 2 have already accepted an offer, and they beat you by a half a day. That's it. So you have to have your
game on, Keith.
Exactly.
Game on.
Let's go. You have to do it. You have to do it. So I know companies who've gone to career fairs, and then those resumes just go into the black hole of the company. I was responsible for this. So when I brought them in, they did a fantastic job. But they also taught me how to do it, how to be more effective. And the most effective thing you can do is talk to your senior PEs or your senior engineers and say, look, these people are yours. The assignments are not coming from them, because that makes too much of an hourglass. I need them to be released to the floor so that they can get the full impact of multiple personalities, not just mine. Secondly, I wanted to make sure they saw me every day. So I sat them literally outside my office. There were 4 available cubicles. They went in 3 of them. They also started to develop some chatter. 2 were friends because they were on the softball team. And the other one, they kind of knew each other, but then they became friends over the co-op, because you make sure you sit them together and now have a support group. Now they feel more comfortable because they're with peers. And then once they're more comfortable, they'll ask more questions. They'll want to do some more things, which is terrific. I remember they came in at 9:30. I did the spiel. Lunchtime came. They went out together, and then they came back, and 2 of them said, hey, we just got a text from our 3rd roommate. She has COVID. And I'm like, you have to leave. They were there 3 hours. Like, you have to leave. Sorry, you got to leave. One moved home. The other one stayed in the apartment, got COVID, and was out for 2 weeks. I'm like, successful co-op so far, but there's nothing you can do.
At least you didn't have to look to anybody and go,
exactly.
You.
But
you were the guy.
there was nothing you could do with that. But even the one who got COVID, they tried to be online when they could, and when they were finally cleared to come back, they're terrific folks, really, really terrific. And I never thought I would find a better class, but then we got better at doing improvement. So for the second time around, I made sure that not only did I recruit better. But I also made sure I brought 2 more people from the office with me because I said, I need more than one person in this office to know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at 2 people who are articulate, who are sharp, who are presentable, and who can speak and translate to a younger crowd, to a medium crowd, to a senior crowd, and they understand how to speak. And I said, I need you guys to come with me. You are going to have teaching moments here that I want you to interest the kids, the students, but I need you to learn how to do this. Watch me for my first few. And I remember one of the guys I have a habit. I want to pull you in. I don't want you just to walk past the booth. I want to pull you in. And you're looking up and down the booth, and every person, every company, every delegate of every company is standing behind their desk. And I walk out right in the front, and the guy I brought with me standing behind, and I looked at him, I said, over here. Yep. He walks over there, and even with passers-by, we engage. Okay? Yep. We engage, and then before you know it, you have a bit of a following. You're talking to 4 or 5 of them at one time. There's another group gathering. You finish what you say. You ask them, hey, resumes have some swag that we have. Move on. Mm-hmm. And you engage the next group. And I think it's more a personal thing because you're able to engage with them rather than be a larger engineering firm that sounds an awful lot like Raytheon and just have 4 lines of people just talking to a single person.
Which is, by the way, what work's going to be like, and they're going to just churn you out and throw you out later when you're burned out.
It's not cool, but it wasn't Raytheon. It was just a firm that sounded like Raytheon.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right, I want to pause real quick because I want to make sure that if there's any students listening, that if you're going to go to a career fair, find the person that is using the words and doing the things that Keith is talking about right now. Stop at a booth and say, what do you guys do for your co-op program? Yeah. Do you have a co-op program? Mm-hmm. Because most companies just bring people in, throw them in, and go, that's the co-op. Mm-hmm. So ask these questions, listen to what Keith is saying. And if there's a company that kind of has the same flair and the same message, it's probably going to be a good co-op, right? Hey, my fellow impactful engineers. If there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, is to keep listening to the podcast, but also if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
My hope is that it will. I mean, there are companies who will not
promise everything and not do it.
They'll promise everything. The most important thing I told the 2 folks who were in my office is, this is the message I give, and this is how I give it. And the important thing is, don't lie. Don't speak a mistruth. Mm-hmm. Tell them what you think. Tell them what you feel. Tell them your experience. You might be able to bond with them. Maybe you won't. But when they get into the office, when they're there, they will realize you spoke the truth. Because very quickly, they will tell others, man, this is nothing like I expected it was going to be, because I was told I was going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and I can't.
Yeah.
So
you need that trust right up front.
You need the trust right up front, but there are some times when you can't deliver. I told them all, you'll at least get into the field once. You have to go to the field. So I told all of my senior engineers, I need each of you to promise me 2 field visits for each of these people. I had 4 seniors. That's 8 field visits. I was hoping to get 1 out of each, and I generally got 1 out of each. Mm-hmm. But, if you say, I'm going to get you to the field, once a week, that's just not realistic. It's just simply not realistic. So, and by no means did we perfect our internship or co-op program, but at least we started. And I was very fortunate that the second class we brought in, we improved on the first, which was fantastic, meaning how we engaged with them. And by bringing another person with me, we were able to, I think it was like 38 or 39 folks. And now, oh my God, we still have the short list of 10. How do we do that now? We just increased the field. But again, you want to make sure the rule I had was we need offer letters out within 30 days of the co-op, because it's going to take some time to schedule the interviews. with 10 people. And I just wanted to limit it to 10 because he was, hey, we've got 12 or 14. It's like, it's too many. It's just flatly too many. So, the second program, we honed it better. I think we had like a small syllabus that we really didn't give them, but we said we need to make sure we hit this, this, and this. And the next step was going to be building that syllabus and making sure that we now have actual like coursework supposedly. But then I accepted the group leader / principal opportunity here at NB5, and now I have to bring that co-op program here, which has been slow to start. But I think in the next semester or two, we're going to have something out, which is great. So
amazing.
And I still keep contact with some of them. Some of them I've seen on LinkedIn that they've accepted other offers to do other things. But my goal when I started it, was to be in a position to at least hire one out of that class, 5. Whether it was one mechanical or one electrical, it didn't matter. To be in a position to hire one. And I'm happy to say that the very first, that first 5 co-op class, my former firm just hired 2, one mechanical, one electrical. And I think they started now or they start in June. So that's fantastic. And it was great because we had juniors and sophomores. And then I think they went after more juniors and now sophomores. So they'll be in a position now, because Wentworth's on a trimester, they could be in a position, so long as they have the work, to hire 3 people per year. Yep. And that is a supply chain. That is a recruitment chain. That is something that builds the company true organic growth, which is
and
the
even
best
if you
to
don't...
have. It's the best to have, but it's the longest to get. And nobody wants that. It's just we want to be the New York Yankees. We want to recruit, pay a 20% fee, and by the way, maybe half of them will remain in 2 years.
That's the wrong way to take care of people too. So,
sorry, Steve, I interrupted.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, even if you don't hire someone out of a certain class, you're still building that relationship with the school, and you're going to be providing such an excellent experience for these co-ops, interns, etc., that they're going to go back to the school, tell all their friends, their other classmates how awesome your place was, and then that's going to attract those top level students that are going to
hopefully reach people that aren't part of a university that have co-op programs, because they don't all have them, right? They're not all technical schools geared towards shoving them into industry. So how do we give the people a chance that aren't at those top tier schools with the 3 co-ops mandatory, and you got to get out there and meet people? We want to be able to reach those people too. So, and give them a shot at coming in and improving their skills. I went to a school that no one has even heard of, and it cost me $20,000 to do the whole thing. Right. So
you're lucky.
I'm very lucky. And I went to some no-name school that I didn't choose on my own. I followed my friend. Right. And I had no idea what engineering was about. I just knew that it was in line with my skill set at the time, which was I was really good at math, and I was really, interested in building cars, and Steve, you got me into that, and working with my hands, but also I didn't really think about doing the trades. I was like, okay, let's go to engineering because Dad said you could make money with that, and blah blah blah. And so I ended up going to engineering school, right? Well, I'm like, okay, well, I have no money, and I can't get this federal aid that everybody says is just so available. So I was like, where do I go? Where's the cheapest place? So I worked all through school, 3 jobs, got through it. It was hard. But there was nobody directing me to co-ops. I had no idea even that the construction industry included engineering divisions, which is the MEP world. I had no idea about anything other than NavAir in Southern California that was recruiting people. Usually the guys that had super high IQs, high GPAs, which was not me. And, so no one ever talked to me about going to NavAir. So I had no idea, right? And I stumbled upon my first engineering job just because I had a connection, right? And I come in and I say, hey, I know how to make really good pizza. Engineering, not so much. But I can do X, Y, and Z, and I'm really good with people, and I can learn, and I want to come in, and I'll do really good for you. Okay, great. You can have a job. So that was my experience with getting my first job, which I stayed at for 6 years. But it would have been nice as the guy going through college with his head down trying to work and get through it, to have somebody say, hey, let's go work as an intern somewhere. So if the fact being that if you have a great co-op program, and we're going to start one here at Hallam as well, I'm sure of it, you can build that brand, and then people will be talking about it, and then you should be able to, through social media these days, with all the connections that we have, be able to reach people like that, plus the podcast, right? And make people aware. That's like one of the major goals of our impactful engineering community, is to make more people aware.
That is the word I use. Specifically the phrases, raise the awareness of us.
Yes.
And that's it. You need to raise the awareness. So,
Steve, you're not part of us. You're a product engineer.
I still have a co-op program.
But Jake, you actually you indirectly introduced one of the criteria I did look at. If somebody's told me that they were working to put themselves through school, if they told me that they were working at a coffee shop and they actually had opened that coffee shop at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and a Sunday, and they did it, well,
that's commitment,
terrific.
baby.
Because what it shows me that you have more maturity and perhaps responsibility than your age may connotate. So, so, and I hate saying age. It's just we were all young.
It's the way it is, and
we
we've
were
all been there.
A little immature at the time, but
but that skill is highly, highly valuable.
That was actually the first person I hired co-op separate. My last job when I was chief mechanical, I was passing the coffee shop next to the office, and I saw two of my group members in there. So I went in with the intention to buy them coffee, but they had already had their stuff, and they were actually just waiting for something to be served. And one of them was wearing their BU engineering sweater, bright red. You can't miss it. Pick it out of a crowd. And the wait staff came over and said, here's your whatever food, and leaned in and said, so you go to BU engineering? And the person said, no, I graduated, whatever it was, 1, 2, or 3 years ago. And this lady leaned in and said, where do you work? And I leaned in and I said, I'm their boss. You want to talk to me? And I remember that was it. I put myself through. Yes, my parents did pay, but I had a full-time job. It was at this coffee shop. It was Fridays. It was Saturdays. It was Sunday mornings. It was whenever I could get a shift. Yes, sometimes I opened it and I thought to myself, this is the grit of a person I want. And I said, okay. Wound up being my first hire, and that person is still there, and I think they're going on 3.5 years now, which in this industry for that duration is like a dog's year. So, I mean, that is fantastic, but you also have to make sure that you keep that person engaged.
Yep.
And that sometimes is a challenge, because my level of engagement that I want is going to be different than y'all's, but you have to find that way to keep them interested. And not falsely so. It's just genuinely.
Yeah, and it's not up to you anymore because you're not close to them anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Well,
so you need to be able to convey that leadership down so that it can propagate throughout the ranks.
I do enjoy getting texts every now and again from a few of them, because I do keep in touch with them. I promised my former boss I would not recruit out of the firm. Just because I got a fantastic opportunity doesn't mean I'm trying to kick his teeth in. So I purposefully not recruited from the firm, but I would I think with that co-op program I left it better than I found it, which is terrific, because there was no co-op program before.
Yep.
And for you to then have the president of the firm start asking you questions about how you did it, I said I did it mainly because Ed said do it, and he got out of my way and just let me do it. And then come the second co-op class. And this was also very important. The headquarters, which was outside of Massachusetts, 3 or 4 of them would come up the last Wednesday in every month. And it was for month-end financial review, which was terrific. But I would tell the co-ops, you are meeting the CEO next Wednesday. And they would suddenly, no one's wearing jeans. But there was a buzz. There's a buzz. We are meeting the CEO. Yeah. And it's fantastic. And Kim brought them in and talked to them, and I had them make videos because we did want them to be introduced to as many of the people in the company as possible. So we put their videos up on the intranet. It was just a 5-minute video to say, the best subject matter you could possibly talk about. Who is you? That's the subject matter.
Yep.
Just who you are, where you came from, why you're in engineering, what got you interested in any other tidbits you might want us to know. And those videos went viral inside our place, which was great, to the point where when I was almost signing on here at NV5, the CEO said, I need you to roll this co-op program out to all offices. I'm like, okay. I got some awkward news to give my boss in a week, but okay. But that was terrific. I mean, that also kept them engaged. So I'm a sophomore, I'm a junior in college. I'm going to meet the president today. Really? Okay, fantastic. CEO, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I love that. The closer you can, I mean, as a young person, and you're like, I'm going to meet the CEO. That's pretty cool.
It is. It's very cool. I had a very similar experience at a firm where I don't want to mention the name. I love the place because the CEO, the president at the time, and it's a family-owned business in Boston, made a point to introduce himself to all the younger folks. I was at a meeting. I had no idea I was going to be assigned a project, and I walk in, and everybody up there is wearing jackets, bow ties, regular ties, you name it. And I'm like, am I at the right meeting? And I'm reading the outside the door. I'm like, all right, this is the meeting I was invited to. I come in, and they just started the meeting. They started talking. They're talking to the president, and then the president stops and he goes, and you are? And I said, I'm Keith Prata. I'm a new hire. And he says, I've heard of you. And he stood up and he walked around the table, shook my hand, and then he went back and he sat down. And I said, whoa, that was pretty cool. So, and that wasn't the only thing he did. So, and for that reason, I will always view that place as home, even though I'm not there anymore and I haven't worked there in about a decade. So, it's that personal touch. If you don't have that personal touch, how are you going to build a relationship?
Right. That's very good. Love that. Steve, what is your co-op program like? And is it anything as good as Keith's?
I'm going to say no. No. We actually just started it. So we are the actual co-op program is starting this next school year round. So
and I do need to
even compare it.
I do need to interject. That was the last co-op program. I mean, I need to do this co-op program, which I've yet to be able to get off the ground. So for all of those of you who want to contact me for co-op, I'm more than welcome to take your call. But our co-op program is not quite there yet. So.
Yeah. But you can still get in.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. The first class is always the most difficult. And Steve, if you are lifting a co-op program off, there is one additional facet to what I've been talking about that I haven't said yet. And I didn't know I needed it until I realized somebody filled the role. And I said, ooh, yes. And it is the 2, 3, or 4 year graduate who's still with you, who's still an age peer with them, who takes to helping them on a moment's notice. And you don't know if you have those people. If you have 3 people in your group and you're taking on a co-op, and these 3 are decision makers, you're not able to train that person. You need a person who's doing it every day to be able to answer those questions and tell them, look up, 8 hours, 1 full day, spread out over the course of the week, and we charge the overhead, because I know you're answering questions that don't directly relate to, the work that you're doing. So make sure that they have that time. And I didn't know I needed that until the person from BU filled that role, and I said, oh, son of a gun, this is fantastic. This is now a co-op program, and I had no idea that I needed that person. I knew I needed my senior PEs and senior engineers to engage, but I didn't realize I needed that person, that type of person. If you have all of those, then I think you can have a successful co-op program. So let me show you. Keep at it. You have to keep at it. So.
Yeah, we at our company we've had an intern program, so we're expanding it to a co-op program as well as an intern program. And
I use the terms interchangeably, but I think they mean something different. I think an intern is unpaid or something like that.
No, we still pay our interns. It's more of a, it's just over the summer, or it's just over a single term, where our co-op program is more of like a 2-term obligation. And
there's probably more paperwork and
it is more paperwork. So it's a lot more lengthy and in-depth process. But for our internship program, we always assign a buddy, and that buddy is always someone who's 2 to 4 years experience, so they're still within that age bracket, but they have enough process knowledge, enough work experience to really relate. And so I definitely understand what you're saying, because that's exactly what we do as well.
I've got one of those, and it's a WIT alumni, and they were part of the co-op. So that's the person I'm going to be using. So that's amazing.
There you go. That helps out. So no, I've never heard of a program here where it's gone unpaid. It's just everybody says, "Oh, you mean a co-op? Oh no, you mean an intern." I'm like, let's just say I'm hosting somebody. How about we just say that? But,
how about you're just hosting somebody? Back in California, the internships that my friends were getting, were just unpaid, and I'm like, oh.
No.
How can you do that? I got to pay my way through this.
No, absolutely not. That will never occur.
I think that's just changed in the last 10 years or so. It's more standard to pay now.
Yep.
So that's how you're going to have to grow. And then through recruiters or your own in-house recruitment, or just word of mouth, when you find that mid-range person who doesn't seem to exist anymore, or that senior person who for some reason just is looking for something different, or an acceleration of responsibilities, that is that's your Derek Jeter who's suddenly coming up for free agency. That's the person you really need to pursue. But you can't buy that person as an SOP, standard operating procedure to grow. You just can't do it unless you want to acquire companies, and that's the way your growth model is. But all you're doing, as Belichick would say, all you're doing at that point is you're just collecting people or collecting talent. You're not building a team. Right. And the building of team will go way further than a collection of talent.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And even more rare, of course, is to find that guy, plus their passion is to build teams, right? So.
Well, I don't know if anybody is really passionate about building teams until they see the success.
Yeah. I am. So yeah, rare, I guess.
Yeah.
So, God, this was a great conversation about co-ops. I think people are going to get a lot out of this. Try and, if you could, cover a couple of points that I know people are going to think about this and go, man, how do I apply this to get an edge, to go secure my seat at a co-op? Now I know how to approach these guys at the career fairs, what they might be thinking, what to ask. Do you have anything to add to that, though, as a student coming in?
It's tough.
Be yourself, right?
First of all, definitely be yourself. If you're generally quiet, maybe you have to shed that a little bit, and it takes some effort, because you want to leave a mark on somebody, an indelible mark.
Yep.
That I remember this person for this reason, not because they were wearing something outrageous, or maybe you wear a really colorful tie, but you need to stand out in the crowd. And I'm sorry to say, a recruiting fair is a huge crowd. And just pretend it was just 32 people or 36 people that I met for my first one, and it's one person. That's a lot. You all remember my name, but I don't remember your names unless you stick out to me. And that's important. Have other activities that show that you can work multiple competing deadlines, because that's exactly what industry is, multiple competing deadlines.
Yep.
If you don't have to work a job, I understand they're difficult to do and juggle, but it's telling an employer that you can do more than just that thing that you were hired to do. Yep. You have to show, as one of my old bosses used to say, we operate under a value-added proposition. And that value-added proposition is not meant to be greedy for us or hold you down, but you need to show that your skill set is better today than it was yesterday for this reason. That's the reason you move up. That's the reason additional responsibility is given to you.
Right.
And that's kind of the way you need to work for your life.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I think even if you're not working in school, but you have a really involved hobby, or you're working on some involved projects, leverage those.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that shows that separate commitment.
Yeah, you need to highlight them. It's that separate commitment. So
I would say if you come in, and just to add to it, if you come into that career fair with a presence and you're really making eye contact, right? And you walk right up and you say, "Hey, how's it?" And you grab someone's attention, you shake their hand, "How you doing? What's your company about? Let's talk." That's much better than just kind of being a zombie, kind of wandering through and then looking at the ground and maybe like we do it on accident even. I'll do that if I purposely want to disengage, but if you're there, you need to be engaging.
Yeah,
so
you need to be engaging. You have to show the person that you care. And if you don't care, it's going to be very, very obvious. So,
right.
But for some people, it's very difficult to talk to people. You've got to find a way in. Watch a YouTube video or something. Practice now. It can be difficult to do, especially for those who may be more natural introverts than extroverts.
Yeah.
Now you don't have but you don't have to be a rock star and to come in and be like, look at me, because then you're going to immediately turn me off. So there's a comfortable medium. So
yeah, try at your next dinner that you have with your family or a group of friends, even if you know them really well. Walk right up and say, "Hey, man, haven't seen you in a while. How's it going?" Good, good. And we all just take some time to practice.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. I think another misconception in interviews and whether it's for a new job or a co-op, etc., is like what sort of questions are being asked, by the interviewer, and so if you could provide like one or two questions that you think are outside the realm of what people expect, but that you commonly ask, I think that would be helpful.
If this is for students, I want to get to know you, so I'm going to ask one common question that I ask anybody, whether you're 30 years in the industry without PE, it doesn't matter, or a new co-op. The first thing I want to tell you, I introduce myself. It's important to understand who you're speaking with. I'm just not a recruitment officer. I'm a principal group leader. This is what I'm doing. This is the division I'm in. Mainly also to let them know there's the right interview. That's important. Okay, I'm where I should be because they've never met me before. But then I ask them the most open-ended question that's possible. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
So, damn it, tell me about yourself.
That's your
question. Exactly. My dad, I'm very well coached because when he retired, I think he was in charge of 240 to 260 people, executive vice president or senior vice president at the firm he was with for 37 years, but he did 2 tours of duty. He did a 10-year, then he had to go to a couple other places for 10 years, then he came back for the last 27 years of his career. He said, "Keith, I've been part of so many interviews, you have no idea." And back then, the interview was at the office. So you're coming in, whether you're a student or you're a senior person or mid-level, and it's face-to-face interview. And he says, "I always try to make sure that they feel comfortable. Can we take your jacket? Coffee, water, doesn't matter. Would you like a snack? Something, anything. Mm-hmm. Make them feel comfortable." And when they, no, I'm okay with my jacket. No, I'm okay with the drink. It's like trying to get them to lighten up. So it's tell me about yourself. Mm-hmm. Thinking, okay, now I'm an expert in this. And he says, can't tell you how many times an electrical engineer said to me, "Oh, I'm an electrical engineer. I studied electrical in college." It's like,
no, really?
Yeah, exactly. It's like really, I had no idea. But it's asking those probing questions, not because I want to get to their social security number. It's to make them feel comfortable about themselves during the interview. And I don't want the interviews to go much more than, say, 30 minutes. And I always end it with, "Do you have any questions for me?" Because I may have spoken past something that they want to know, and I'll tell them, "There's no question that's taboo. Do you have any for me?" And some of them ask me how I got into the industry. Some have asked me what my favorite job was, and then everything in between. So, and sometimes you have to pull the best out of them. So when somebody asks you that question, tell me about you. Don't be afraid. Don't tell them super uber personal things. They want to understand, hey, where did you come from? Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? Did you have a pet? What are your hobbies without me dragging it out of you? What are your hobbies? Just tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just
What
tell me.
adversities have you overcome?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
don't recite your resume.
No,
tell
you
them
don't.
What's
You do not
not
need
on your resume?
You do not. And I was always told a resume should be no more than 1 page. No, you can go to 2. Once you get to 3, you've either had too many jobs or you're just being a pain. So just limit it to 2. And I don't want to know the coursework that you did. I appreciate if you're a student, I totally get it. But if you're graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, I'm pretty sure you had a thermal class. I'm pretty sure you had a fluids class. Tell me something that's different.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and it's hard to do sometimes because they're just in that mode. They're in student mode. So try to break yourself out.
The one co-op that I interviewed that had the most gravitas and the most experience was I'm not going to mention his name. He was a 31-year-old sophomore putting himself through college. And I remember during the interview, he said, "Nah, I know you're wondering why." And he told me, he said, "Well, I'm a 4th degree black belt Taekwondo instructor. And for the last 7 years, I ran my sensei's dojo in San Francisco. And I realized that it wasn't going to make ends meet. I'm getting married in a couple of months, and I need to do something. So I put myself through engineering school." And I said, "Oh my God, you're hired. Oh my God, you have no idea how hired you are. You're hired now."
Yeah.
Plus, you can kick some butt if you ever
no,
go anywhere, and you need it.
But it was a
travel buddy.
It was a certain level of maturity. I mean, he ran the dojo, and he's an instructor, which means he can teach and receive instruction and handle multiple competing deadlines. Other things that have to happen. And I was very fortunate to have him. We still remain in touch. We actually have to get together this summer just to kick off summertime. Last time we got together, I texted him and I said, call him John. His name's not John. I said, "John, how'd you do this semester?" And he said, "Man, I think I got all A's and a B." And I said, "Are you kidding me? You got a B."
That's awesome.
I said, I said, had that been all A's, I would have taken you to Ocean Prime on me. And a week later, he goes, "By the way, I got all A's." I said, "Okay, we'll go to Ocean Prime." So great seeing him. But oh my gosh, that's got to be now, I think, at least 7-8 months. So I have to reach out to him just to say hi. So.
Nice. Well, I'll share one quick story. So, I do like, I'll go to Wentworth as well. I do like Wentworth, and I enjoy the career fairs. I enjoy speaking there as well. And I had the opportunity to speak to a group of students. And one of them came up to me after, I just introduced the industry, tell them what Hallam's about, tell them, what are some things you can do that will give you an edge to get a job.
Raising awareness of who you are.
Raising awareness of engineering, right?
Exactly.
Who we are. So, and he said, "Hey, I know you talked about leveraging your work experience and jobs previous in your interviews, right?" And he's like, "But all I've done recently is painting." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean by painting?" He's like, "Oh, well, we did exteriors of housing." I'm like, "Okay, great." And some businesses. And I said, "Well, what goes into painting an exterior of a building? What goes into that?" "Well, you got to make sure the weather's good. You got to schedule it right. You got to stir the paint. You got to set the prep. You got to put the sheets everywhere. You got to tape the trim. I'm like, "That sounds like a lot of stuff. Like, who does all that?" "Oh, 5 or 6 of us come in to set it up, and then there's 3 of us painting, whatever it was." Yeah. And I'm like, "So you were involved with these decisions, right?" "Yeah, and sometimes, when the weather turns bad, then you got to plan to do certain things first before the bad weather comes in, and then you can pack up or do work while it's raining because you've made the decision to do things in a certain order." And I'm just like,
so
that sounds like
you scheduled the process.
That sounds exactly what we do every single day is work around competing priorities with the injection of surprise things coming at you all the time. And he was like, "Oh."
It's what we call chaos.
It's what you call chaos. Yeah. And you got to be comfortable living in it.
My chaos today is every single client wants answers to emails now because we have a long weekend coming up because Tuesday is just too long. I have my first podcast and 3 proposals that have to go out. And I had a funeral last night, a wake the night before, and you can't plan those, and you have to get it done. So
Right.
and that's between binge watching The Walking Dead. So I have to figure my priorities.
That's right. So, and the long story short is he texted me, a few weeks later and said, I did exactly what you said, and I got a nice job here at so-and-so company. And I'm like, yeah, all you got to do is be yourself, come in and talk about what you know. That's it.
Exactly. Show me you're engaged. Show me you'll give some effort. Show me that you're coachable. And let's go.
Right.
So
And
I expect you to fall down multiple times. But own your mistake. Don't ever pawn it off on somebody else. Don't you ever pawn it off. You get to pawn one off because you're scared. You get it. I always wanted to make sure that my office was a place where you could confess all sins. Tell me, Ryan, what did you do? Oh, I laid out the mechanical room and it's 2 feet shorter than I thought. Really? Okay.
Measure twice.
Well, that's a very specific example because I did that in my very first job, and I had to tell my dad's colleague Dan, I missed it by 14 inches, and he's like, and I remember just the look of derision in his face. Then he said,
"Yep,
that was it. It was just, oh god." Okay.
Did you feel really, really good after you said, hey, I missed this by 14 inches?
Did I feel good? No. Did I want to crawl in a hole? Yes. But, and when I was younger, 22, 23, maybe you can hide a mistake. And I've hit a couple in my life, but then I started to realize and I had to operate under a different premise. And that premise is simple as tell the truth. If for no other reason other than it's the right thing to do, it's always the easiest thing to do. So just tell the damn truth. Because if I lie, and I've said this to multiple bosses, lying to you only guarantees me more pain at a later date.
Yep.
So I'm telling you right now, and I've told my last 2 bosses, I promise to be entirely transparent to you. You will see every Keith-shaped hole through every wall in which I run and make a mistake.
Yep.
So, because I need you to trust me implicitly.
Yep. Very good. All right, Keith, this was a great conversation. I want to respect your time and coming up on the hour here. And we have a couple questions that we like to ask at the end of every interview that we do. And Steve, I'll let you go ahead first.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember, you can't ask my age, my religion.
Nope. None of the protected things.
Okay, Steve, you don't get to go first. I'll go.
Well, so this is 30 seconds. The person at my last company who I brought in to learn how to do the co-op, we reviewed what he could do, what he couldn't do during the very first team's interview, and the first thing he said was, "So how old are you?" And I went, "Oh god!" So we finish, and I run downstairs, and I go, "John, what the heck?" And he goes, "Yeah." As soon as it came out of my mouth, I realized I made a mistake, and I'm like, "Look, you made a mistake in a safe place, but don't you ever do that again."
Yeah. At least he didn't have to confess it.
I had to do that. Yeah, he didn't have to confess it. Sorry for that segue, Steve.
No, you're good.
I had to share that because that was one of the more comical because he learned something during that. Yeah. So
yep, I love it.
I want to kill him. I really did. No, what did you do?
Yeah,
he said it, and I just went like this. I went, oh.
Yep, facepalm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Turn the camera off.
So Keith, in about 5-10 years, where do you see yourself in the organization or just in life in general?
Overlord of the universe. No.
Perfect.
I was brought in. I was brought in to help build the office, and my hope is by the time I want to say, let's say 4 years because it's just an even number. I want the group at least down here in Braintree, Boston, to be 25 people, which I think maybe 30. I think that's entirely possible, but we do need to get the co-op program off the ground. And by that time, my hope is that our names become ubiquitous again in the Boston market, and we are thought of for at least half of the work in town. Does it mean we get half the work? No, but I want our names to be an everyday name that are tossed around of NV5 should be able to do this. So that's what I want. Everything else that comes after that, whether I have new responsibilities or not, doesn't really matter right now. I need to fulfill the deal, and that is to take over for a retiring principal who was here for 20 plus years. It's very difficult to take over for somebody like that who is ingrained in the entire process and helped find the culture. You do need a slight culture change because there's a new team leader, so there's going to be a little bit of a culture change, but try not to force it. And sometimes it's not always the easiest thing because I'm still a human being and I still make mistakes no matter if I'm in the driving chair or not. So.
Okay, awesome. Jacob?
I'd like to say I'd be retired, but I know that's just not the case.
Yeah. Still got kids that need to go to school, you were saying.
Yes, I
do. So this is your chance to take one action item that you think anyone listening should be doing at least once or twice a week, if not every day, that would help them reach. That would help them reach. I know we don't know their goals, but that would help them overall reach, find a new job. If they're unsatisfied with their job, find their first job. So is it networking? Is it speaking?
Networking for sure. Again, drawing from my father's wisdom, and he does have a certain wisdom, having been in the industry for 47 years. He always told me, Keith, if you're going to be in this industry, you do not want to be over 50, uncredentialed, with no support network. And I mean contacts. So uncredentialed mean, hey, I'm an engineer, but I never got the FE, I never got the PE. That's the tort equivalent of going to law school and never becoming a lawyer. Why? Mm-hmm. Credential yourself, okay? Have a support network. If you are very comfortable at one job, I get it. But you need to be friendly with people because some of them are going to move. I have seen plenty of people at firms for 20 and 25 years, and I respect them for it. I really do. But then something changes, and they have to leave, or they're forced to leave, but they can't change. Mm-hmm. Because I just did that for 25 years, and that's it. You need to be nimble. You need to be versatile. And if you are not, you're not going to make it in life. You're just not. So do the best you can to do that. Quite frankly, I don't think there's really any exercises. I am not promoting that somebody should suddenly say, okay, I'm going to change jobs right now. No, that's not the case. But you need to be more versatile. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. As a former boss used to say, Keith, if you want to be successful in this industry, you have to be comfortable. You cannot have a comfort zone. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you're comfortable, it means you're not experiencing any change. Yeah. Nothing's happening that hasn't already been scheduled, that you haven't already seen. Mm-hmm. And if you want to sit in the driver's seat someday, you have to be able to do that. You have to. If you can't, you're not going to survive. Lastly, learn to speak to a group of people that you do not know. I think you could do Toastmasters. If your company has in-house competitions, ask if you can be part of it. I was incredibly fortunate that the same president or CEO who stopped that meeting for me got up and walked around the table and then came back. He had a habit of, this was something that benefited me that I was not necessarily seeking, but I realized it adds your value. This person always found a group of 14 or 15 people who may be their age peers or experienced peers. Maybe they came in at the same time. He would always ask them. He would always ask them to do something extra. And the first time he said no, unless, hey, I'm actually already booked for vacation that week. If you just said, I'm not interested, that's the last time he asked you. Mm-hmm. And he would keep doing it until he got down to his group of 2, 3, or 4 people. Those are the future leaders of the firm. In my peer group at that point, it was me and one other person, Scott, who I still know. We actually have to get together for lunch in a couple of weeks. And we were called up to the boardroom. And there's the new president, who was, I think, new president of 2 or 3 years, my boss, the son of the former CEO, the daughter of the former CEO, and the CEO, and they said, I need to ask you, what can we do to change the company and make it better? And we kind of looked at each other and like behind us, like they're talking to us, man. They're talking to us. They're asking us. We were asked up here for this perspective. And unfortunately, both of us left the firm within 2 years, but it had nothing to do with what the firm did. It's just we got incredible opportunities elsewhere. Sometimes you can't say no. My whole point is this. That CEO who always looked for that new group of people gave us opportunities to speak, not just in-house, but out of house. And it was the safe environment to make a mistake. I remember the most excruciating exercise he had us do was an in-house fake competition between 2 teams of 4. And it was a fake project. We were interviewing for it. We were the 2 finalists, the teams. And didn't give us very many pointers. He wanted us to make our mistakes. And during the interview, he videotaped us. So once they announced the winners, and my team was the winner, which was fantastic, he said, okay, we videotaped everybody. We're now going to critique every person privately. And we said, oh, crap. So I was the last person to speak on my team, and I was team 2. So I had to wait while 7 other people were critiqued, and I'm just dying. But it was that practice that also helped me be comfortable being uncomfortable. So you need to learn how to speak to people. You need to learn to be able to not necessarily command a room. You don't have to. Not everybody's built for that. But you have to be comfortable talking. Now you say, okay, Keith, other than that in-house competition, what have you done? Well, I've had to present at this other president's request to other clients. I have since presented at I2SL, which is no longer I2SL, but it's a national thing. Had to fly down to, it was either Atlanta or Florida 10 years ago, but you have to put a presentation together. You have to practice it until the cows come home. You have to make sure you're okay with it, and then you're presenting it to a group of 50 people that you've never met before. And it's the morning before everybody leaves, and it's like, oh my God, how do I make sure that they get a benefit out of what I do? It's, I think on the 9th of June, I'm presenting to NIOP. It's my 5th tour of duty with Margulies Peruzzi Architects and David O'Day of O'Day Structural Engineers, and we present a course called Anatomy of a Building. And it's fantastic, and I love it. And they keep telling us it's the most popular, or one of the 5 the most popular that we've ever done, which is why they've asked us to come back almost 5 years in a row. Once you do that, you raise the awareness about who you work for, but more importantly, you're raising the awareness about who you are. And as much as it may be painful for you, you have to get your name out too, because you have to understand in business, you are also your own best advocate.
That's right.
And if you want to have success, you're going to need to be out there. Sorry, we don't run on TikTok. Engineering doesn't run on TikTok. I'm sorry.
And your reputation, or also known as brand today, is very, very important.
I hate saying brand. Reputation is far more personal, and I think reputation is actually it. But people also need to recognize you as an expert in the field, not just, hey, you're a group leader here, you're a principal there. It's you're out there, you're putting yourself out there. And it's very difficult for some. I am a natural-born introvert. Everybody listening to me heard that. Introvert. I get my energy by being by myself. But when it's expert subject matter, there's no end to the energy. I'm very happy doing it. And it takes a certain amount of practice. So to get back to your point, Jake, what can people do? Find a way to talk publicly. Not about anything, about the things you know. And get comfortable with that. And if your company offers it, approach them to do it. You're going to be nervous as hell. You're going to want to puke every minute of every day working up to that event. You're going to want to barf on that day when you're taking the stage. But you have to deal with it. You also have to, the difficult times. I presented to a client, and that CEO who walked around the table to shake my hand, he saved me. My former boss was up. He presented. It was time for him to pass the baton to me. I went up on stage talking to 3 or 4 people here, and then somebody comes in the room quite late. And the person did not wait for Q&A. He said, I have a question. Just really annoying. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't see your question. He says, yes, as an engineer, can you tell me why do you never do your job? He had an axe to grind about something that day.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I was the focal point, and my former boss is sitting in the front row, and I see him look at me, and he mouths, he goes, whoa! I fumbled with the response, and the CEO came in, and he said, he essentially told the guy to shut up.
That's what I would have said right away.
But it was more of an answer. Like he did the best he could to deal with whatever crap that person was dealing with.
Right.
But I remember that guy left the room, and 3 of the project managers in house, the lady said, "Where the hell did that come from?" And I'm like, "Thank God! I thought I'd never met the guy. I thought he was pointing this at me." But I mean, it's.
I'd have gave him the floor. I would have said, "You clearly have something to get off your chest."
Well,
and everybody's listening right now, so come on up.
Well, yes, but when that's the first time you're presenting, I mean, that is an extreme, and folks,
it's going to throw you off.
Folks, what I said earlier about the truth is the easiest thing to remember, I swear to God, this is all true. This is all true. You are uncomfortable to such an extent. Anything that else happens after that, it's going to be old hat. You're okay doing that. You've seen as much as you can, which is why I do think we do improve as we get older because we've seen more. And going around the block multiple times and getting dusted up and thrown to the ground, and the old adage, it's not, what did Rocky say? It's not how hard you hit, it's how much you can take a hard hit or something like that. And it's true. Some people call it thick skin. I call it experience.
Sure.
You need to build that experience in any way possible. So don't say no to people if they ask you to do something that's outside of your expertise or your comfort level. So, because the moment you say no, you limit yourself. So don't limit yourself.
And if you want to grow fast, don't let the experiences come to you or happen organically. Go out and put yourself in those uncomfortable situations.
But also, when an uncomfortable situation does come up, just let it pass. Get through it, and don't be afraid to do the next one. So I've met plenty of mousy people in this industry who, if that had happened to them, they would never have accepted another opportunity to speak or do anything similar, and they would have sealed their professional fate right there by saying no more times. So you can't say no. You can't. And if you're gonna leave a job, leave on the best possible terms you can. Work down to the wire. Let them control the narrative of why you're leaving, not only to clients, but also to the in-house staff. You don't want people lined up outside your cubicle or your office door wanting to be your psychiatrist. Why are you leaving? Look, I don't talk about this stuff. I've got a fantastic opportunity. I have told Ed I am not going to recruit here. I'm leaving here in the best possible terms.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to do it. I don't care if you hate the place. I don't care if you hate your boss. They paid you. You got paid. They don't owe you anything. You don't owe them anything except curse.
Yeah.
So just shut up.
I love that.
Just shut up. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody who's been with the firm 5, 6, 7, even 10 years, they resign, and you suspiciously see more people at their desk than you would normally see during a day. Now, I get the first couple of days because people are genuinely concerned. They don't want to see Jake or Steve go. But after that, it's, why are you still talking about it? Just be quiet. Just don't say a word. Okay? I had a great opportunity. A friend of mine gave me an idea, and I did it in my last place. The night before I left, I hid an entire box of business cards all over the office. Everywhere. Amazing. Under people's computers, under their phones, behind pictures of their kids. I could put business cards in their desk quantity of business cards, which maybe I shouldn't have done.
What else are you going to do with them?
I taped some to the ceiling. I put them behind computer monitors. I still get texts. I've been out of that firm August of this past year, and they're still saying, how many more of these damn things am I going to find in my office? And it's terrific. And I have one of them stringing along. I keep on saying to him, I said, Mike, did you find the fifth and last card? And he's like, no, I still can't find it. But I never hit a fifth card. I only hit four. So, but they're still finding them. I had them everywhere.
Wait, who is this? Who was it? Can I have a last name?
What? No, not gonna happen.
I can't recruit them to listen to this podcast.
You can't.
You're gonna want to wait to the end.
They were everywhere, and it was fantastic. I also sent my counterpart in Philly flowers from 1-800 Flowers and like a little teddy bear, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're so weird." And then I sent my old boss. It was like the Monday I wasn't there, he got 24 red roses. And I said, Ed, sorry, I had to go. And I'm considering resending on my anniversary just to say, guys, hugs and kisses, still love you both. So I told the president the last day I was there that I was doing it. And she said, are you serious? And I said, yeah, you should be looking for those down in Philly. She's like, oh my God, this is good. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys heard it all, from what to do to get a good co-op and how to be a weirdo when you've left your company. Keith.
Be a little peculiar, because peculiar does set you apart, as long as it's a classy, funny peculiar. It's okay.
Leaves an impression.
Yes.
It's okay.
All right, guys. Go out there. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Go start speaking. Take those opportunities to do things that are outside your wheelhouse and that make you uncomfortable.
Because you will grow. You will grow, I guarantee it. So.
Hey, guys. I hope you had a great time listening. Maybe you learned something new, maybe you got inspired, or at least took one thing away that you'd be able to use. Maybe you just had a good laugh. Impactful Engineering's hope and mission is that through this podcast, we can play a small part in expanding the reach and awareness of engineering and all of its many areas of application. The multiple engineering career paths available can be hugely rewarding as part of a fulfilled life, creating opportunity to impact nearly everyone in the modern world. An engineer's work helps to foster creation of new technologies, create safe and comfortable environments in which people can work, and lends to the sustainable future of everyone on the planet. The world needs more impactful engineers. Our vision is to provide engineers with the perspective and the tools to allow themselves the opportunity to become the most impactful engineers they can be. Included in our vision is to grow the impactful engineering community to a point where we can provide full ride scholarships to students in every single U.S. state every single year. This is an enormous goal, and with your help, we can get there. To start, we will continue to execute this mission in the way that we know how, having conversations, telling stories, and talking about what we find interesting and are passionate about. If the episode made you think, made you object, made you think you could possibly be doing something more with your day, or brought about an idea that you could spend more time on developing further, please share the show or recommend it to your friends. Even if you didn't personally think it was a huge help, there may be someone that you know that could benefit from it, and that's all we can ask for. Until next time on the Impactful Engineer Podcast.